Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CX Green Room. I'm Ginger Conlon, Thought Leadership Director at Genesis. And today we are celebrating CX Day with three fantastic CX professionals, two of whom are with me right now. One is joining us momentarily, Marty Hand and Kyle Johnson. So thanks so much for being here today.
Pleasure.
So before we jump in, let me tell you a little bit about CX Day. So CX Day, if you're not familiar, was started by the Customer Experience Professionals Association. And the goal was to celebrate not only customer experience, but customer experience professionals and the important job that they all do, from the most senior level to those key frontline employees. And so today's show is to celebrate those employees. And, more and more, as we all know, as AI is taking away those more rote tasks, the job is getting even more complex. It's a challenging job. And at the hotline, at Lighthouse Works, and at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator, who our guests are from, it's even more challenging. And you're going to hear about all of that today, and how Marty, Kyle, and Haley, who will be joining us momentarily, are helping support those frontline employees so that they have a great experience, which enables them to deliver that fantastic customer experience. So, let's start with the easy question. Tell us about yourself and your organization's mission and key services. So, Kyle, why don't you start us off?
Hey, great to be with you again. Thank you for having us. Lighthouse Works is actually our social enterprise organization, basically created to create competitive careers for people who are blind while generating net redeployable revenue we can use to serve people who are blind, teach them how to live beyond the restrictions of vision loss and blindness, help them pursue meaningful, impactful, competitive careers. And our primary core economic engine, we have multiple business lines, but our biggest and most robust is our contact center. And one thing I always try to put out there on the front end is that a lot of times when people hear blind agent or a social enterprise, they expect that they're going to have to sacrifice something along the value continuum. And in fact, that's patently false. Our customers access distinct competitive advantages because our workforce is unique, not in spite of them.
It's amazing work that your team does, which we've got the story on the Genesis website. So definitely check out all the details. Marty, how about in your organization, the hotline?
Absolutely. First, let me say, Kyle is the son of a blind man. Thanks for all that you guys do. It's really impactful.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course. So at the National Domestic Violence Hotline, we are the only 24/7 national hotline for survivors of domestic violence. We offer phone, web, SMS interactions with well-trained advocates. We do online safety planning, and we have some self-service capabilities. For those people who are not necessarily looking to speak to an advocate, they may not be willing to share their experiences verbally or in text just yet. So giving them the ability to do what they need. But it's really, it's fitting that today is the day we're doing this, as October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So as part of the kickoff to that, I would encourage all your listeners to engage with our organization on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, so you can find out, you can learn more about survivor experiences, ways to get involved, and how to find support for yourself or friends and family that you may be aware are struggling with this issue.
Well, hey, Ginger, if I can, I just want to
Please.
I just want to get back and say, from a person who grew up as a child with domestic violence, thank you for the work you're doing.
Appreciate that.
Your organizations do amazing work, and we so much appreciate you. And so with that, let's talk about the day in the life of a frontline employee at your organization, including some of their greatest challenges. Marty, why don't you start us off?
You bet. So our advocates spend roughly 60% of their shift in active conversations with survivors and those who are seeking to help the survivors. Sadly, we do get some abusive or prank callers who will try to intentionally upset our advocates. I don't understand the mentality of that, but it happens too frequently. Once is too frequently. The greatest challenge that our advocates face is the continuous exposure to harmful stories of abuse. Many of our advocates are survivors themselves, so it's very re-traumatizing for them and can create significant emotional effects for them. How do you listen to an abusive story from a survivor and then quickly be able to put it behind you so you're well prepared emotionally to support the next survivor? We spend considerable time and energy to address this challenge, are constantly looking for new ideas to help.
Yeah, that is quite a challenge. Now, Kyle, your team faces a different kind of challenge. Share the day in the life of a frontline person at your organization.
Sure. So we have, I'd say at any given time, 30-40% of our contact center agents are typically sighted individuals like myself. And then we have some low vision users who with magnification can operate any of the systems they need to operate to manage through those workflows for our customers. And then people who are totally blind use a screen reader. So very briefly, they have the customer in this ear, they have the computer in this ear. Our experienced agents get so fluent and quick with the voice in their ear that if they were to pull out their headphone jack, you wouldn't be able to understand what they're saying. I kind of call it the voice at the end of, faster than the voice at the end of a car commercial when they're doing the disclaimers. So technology is massive, and our partnership with Genesis has been incredibly empowering for a lot of our agents, not to speak of a lot of the tools we create. We write middleware or software that makes all these other systems accessible. And then while we're in there, we're automating repetitive behavior, turning 4 clicks into 1 click, those types of things. But technology is a massive barrier for employment for people who are blind, certainly in more white collar knowledge-based career paths. We've been able to crack that code. Even we're proud we have Equivista, the user interface on Genesis App Foundry, available for people who need a fully accessible, streamlined for screen reader user interface. But we also, you had mentioned earlier, AI taking some of the more rudimentary activities away. Well, for us, we do better the more attrition hurts. So, long training, complex call type, very sensitive call type, challenging call types where you have a lot of attrition. Our agents who are blind, our attrition is below 5%. And then even our sighted are below 10%. I think because of the culture that's fostered there. But one of our more difficult campaigns that we've had for about 8 years is handling unemployment support for the state of Florida. And there's a suicide protocol on this phone calls. It is used far too often. I'm not going to say it's on the level of our hotline here, but the burnout can be extremely challenging. So it's our job to make sure the employee experience is strong, so the customer experience will be. It's a daily, everything's, each day offers a new challenge.
It's the two of you have very challenging jobs in supporting your teams for sure. So let's talk a little bit more about that, right? So what are some of the ways that you're supporting your advocates and your colleagues, and how has that evolved over the past few years? And, it could be anything from different ways that you're providing more empathetic interactions for your employees, different schedule flexibility, or technologies like Thrive, whatever comes to mind that's key for you. Kyle, what you were on a roll there with some of the things that you were doing. So
hopefully not too much on a roll. I do want to say, while certainly you're right about the challenge in both of our cases, I'll bet my colleague here would agree that it offers so much far more reward than the challenge, and so it makes it totally worth it. But yeah, when we through the pandemic we scaled, I don't know, we grew 6x, over 3 years. And a lot of that work was being performed at home across 22 states. And, aside from technology and misconceptions and misperceptions about people who are blind, transportation is the number one barrier to employment. So when we were able to scale and offer work from home opportunities, we just exploded. We created over 50% or 6 out of 10 of all the new blind jobs created in the US last year, with that ability for people to work from home. So that's been big. We've really had to understand how to cultivate and keep vibrant a work from home culture. And so our teams are doing things like after work, they're having little happy hours, or they're doing trivia nights, or, different types of games that they're doing just to keep all these agents who may never meet each other face to face, connected and engaged and not feeling isolated. Whether you're sighted or blind, working from home for a certain amount of time can help you, make you feel a little isolated there. So we've done a lot of that kind of stuff. Of course, schedule flexibility and making sure that our leads and our supervisors, who are closest to the front line, are well equipped to offer support, readily available to support their colleagues who are working from home. I'd say that's one of the bigger things we've had to adjust to.
Yeah. Marty, how about with your team?
Wow. Yeah. The volume that we've seen in the last 4 years, we've gone from receiving roughly 1,000 interactions a day that we're now seeing roughly 4,000. So it's a big stressor to our advocates because we're primarily government funded, and our government funding has not increased in 3 years. So we can't hire more advocates without more money. This is a type of a job that the volunteer workforce isn't necessarily well suited for. They're going to burn out very, very quickly. So we've done a handful of things, both technology-wise and some benefits for our teams. We've put some limited use of voice and digital bots to help capture demographic data before the contact is connected to an advocate. It allows the advocates to focus their time and energy on helping the survivor and not doing the minutia of the collecting age, gender, race, that sort of information. That information is then provided to the advocates, though, once they connect to the contact, and they can then capture that information in our data collection system. But as a reminder, we are a confidential, anonymous. We don't collect any PII information. We do some regular, what we call letting go of difficult conversations meetings. These are led by professional sociologists who help advocates talk through a particularly difficult conversation and help them to come up with, to give them tools to help overcome the emotional trauma that they have had to deal with. We recently added Modern Health and their mental health care services to our benefits offering at no cost to our employees. So very much like an employee assistance program, you have counselors available, therapists available, free of charge to the employees. Really great service. But I would say our best decision so far was the implementation of Thrive Global. For those that aren't aware of Thrive, it basically gives the ability for the system to automatically offer 60-second, what we call resets, after particularly difficult or lengthy conversations. So the advocates are not having to ask for times off the phone to help recover. It's offered to them automatically. Don't get me wrong. Advocates can still take time away when they need it. We want them the best they can be to serve survivors. But this is so wonderful because the system is doing it automatically. And the advocates really love the various resets they get. They provide breathing exercises, calming video and audio. There's multiple themes to them. So advocates rarely receive the same experience more than a couple of times over the course of several months. So that I really have to say that's been one of our the biggest advantages, and our advocates will tell you when they complete our wellness survey every quarter. One of the things they're most grateful for is the Thrive technology.
I could see that that technology growing in popularity as things AI, not only taking like the road tasks and leaving the more complex interactions, but even as AI does things like the wrap up notes, which normally would be kind of a break, if you will, in between interactions, that if AI is handling it and all you have to do is review it, it's a different, so then using Thrive or something like that would be really beneficial, across the board. So let's talk about the benefits that you've seen of providing these different activities and tools and support to employee engagement. How does that translate to the customer experience, even to things like operational efficiency, any different kinds of benefits you might have seen so far? Marty, why don't you continue on your role?
Right. So the first that's been a real pleasant surprise for us is our retention at the front lines is actually at the lowest it's ever been. Well, I shouldn't say ever. The lowest it's been in many years. So, that's just a massive thing for us, because hiring advocates is not an easy task. People who are willing to step into these types of roles are pretty rare. And so every time we have to replace someone who has left the organization, it takes significant time and money to be able to do that. We actually have had measurable increases in the mental wellness of our advocates. Through Thrive Global, we do send out a quarterly survey where they self-assess. We did a baseline before all this started. Then we do have a couple of other wellness pieces that we use. But advocates are self-reporting improvements in their wellness. And they, as I mentioned earlier, they regularly call out the Thrive resets as one of the most valuable tools in staying healthy. As far as operational efficiencies, I will throw in there that the inclusion of the demographic collecting bots does save us time during the calls. Right, it used to take us 45 to 60 seconds to collect that information during a phone call. That no longer has to happen. So that's up to 60 seconds on a call that we can then use to support someone else and get that get our volume up a little bit higher than without it.
Yeah, that's important. Kyle, how about at your organization?
Yeah, I agree with the operational efficiencies. Again, our software development team is constantly looking at different ways to automate repetitive behaviors and really streamline processes for our folks. The unemployment calls for Florida Commerce, they can be a couple hours long. And so anything, we're excited. We've got some pilot testing going on with some of the data capture, active call data capture, and then the follow-up documentation, looking at how we can take that off their backs and help them streamline that. I would say that a big focus on helping, because 80% of our agents aren't in the building. And so I think the heavy focus on remote workforce culture has just been massive in keeping our folks connected. And, it's actually really fulfilling to see these agents who, one's in Idaho and one's in, Georgia, and see how close they are and the deep relationship they have. Those types of things are extremely rewarding. But then also too, one of our core values, it's one of our 5, who we are, not who we aspire to be, is collaboration. And I think we've created a culture of collaboration in the contact center among agents who are on-prem and remote that has them sort of resource sharing, ideating, problem solving together. They're debriefing afterwards, picking each other's brains and how they overcame, XYZ challenge. And I think, again, that strengthens that relationship, even across campaigns. And I'd like to think that gives them a greater sense of job satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about the Gallup employee satisfaction surveys and how important it is to have a best friend at work. It really sounds like you've cracked the code on helping support and enable that even across, distributed workforce. So that's amazing. All right. So the both of you are your organization, you and your teams in your organization doing great work. But since it is sports season, baseball playoffs, right? Even the multi-million-dollar baseball players and soccer players and football players, they're always trying to tweak to get better, right? So in the spirit of that, what's next? What plans do you have to further improve the employee experience? Marty, why don't you start us off?
You got it. So we are doing, we know we haven't cracked the code on all this. We're making incremental improvements, but we know there's more that can be done. There's more ways we can implement some technology or services to help make it better. What we're working on right now is we're working to deploy Agent Assist. We're rebranding it as Advocate Assist to provide them with that next best response based upon the conversation. And you mentioned earlier about the summary at the end. One of the challenges for our team is that summary creates more trauma for them. Have to go back and relive it a second time. And so we actually view that summary capability as a benefit to our advocates. So we're excited to get that one going here real soon. We are enhancing our use of bots to help deflect contacts who don't need a live advocate. For example, believe it or not, we have people who call our crisis hotline to find out how they can donate clothes and furniture and toys, etc., to shelters. A very valuable and important thing for them to do, but using our crisis hotline is not the right place to do that. We have an administrative line where we can help with that. So we're working on a voice search of our directory. We have what is the most comprehensive directory of local providers for DV specific needs. And we'll be rolling out here in the next few weeks, the ability for people to be able to search that, not just off of our website, but if they call in and tell us that they're wanting to make a donation, we can actually help them do a search utilizing a bot and transfer them directly to that organization without ever having to involve an advocate. We're doing that for more and more services beyond just the donations, right? The number one thing people contact us for is to find a shelter. And, unfortunately, shelter beds are very, very hard to come by in a lot of cities, as you can imagine right now on the path of in Helena. A lot of shelters may even be gone, let alone, just being damaged. So that's a major issue for us all the time, but being able to find ways to help people self-service to find that best option for them is really important. We're also working on ways to enhance our directory so that we can actually find available beds, right? That it's two different things. Let's use Dallas, Texas as an example. There are about 8 or 9 different shelters in Dallas, but availability is a problem. So in our situation, we have to stop and call each of them. Do you have any availability? And here's the need, right? It might be an individual person. It might be a person with 2 kids and a dog. And one of those might be an adolescent male, which creates other challenges in a shelter environment. And so we are working with a couple of different partners on ways to actually have the shelters have a central database of who has availability. So rather than us having to call 8 different shelters, we can prioritize calling the one that the system says they have availability. So that's a pilot we ran actually last year, and we had a lot of learnings from that and hoping to make that a little bit more fully implemented during the next fiscal year.
Yeah, that was amazing. So you both have a lot going on. It's really making great strides, have a lot of great plans going forward. Wait, Kyle, did I ask you about your plans going forward?
No.
Sorry, I was like, wait, I thought I did, but no. Okay, sorry, wait, let's go back to that. Where am I going?
Okay, yeah, no, it's cool. Marty mentioned Agent Assist, so we are definitely exploring different ways and launching different pilots to see what kind of creative ways we can be deploying AI, not only for our agents, our agent experience and customer experience, but but also for our customer to create financial efficiency. So where can we be a partner in innovation rather than just a partner? So we're exploring those aspects now. Continue, to me, culture is like sort of, our board chair mentioned it this way, that culture is like radioactive material. It's always decaying. And so we are constantly pushing the ceiling on how can we enhance engagement, make people feel like they're part of the team, reward high performers. How effectively are we? A couple things when, as far as performance goes, if an agent's working from home, they aren't hitting the mark. Our team understands that human being deserves to know where that mark is, why they're not hitting it, be provided the coaching, guidance, and advice to hit that mark, and to enhance their probability of success. We want to keep everybody. Sometimes you can't, but by the time you've done all that, it's sort of a mutual decision. So what can you do there? So we're looking at those aspects as well. And then kind of the overall wellness. We don't have a formalized wellness plan like Marty's team does. That, I wrote down Thrive Global, for instance. Some of our campaigns are really challenging. We're going to be running that down. And how do we create a more comprehensive employee wellness program? I think we've done a good job with keeping the network connected and vibrant and engaged and appreciated. But how do we extend beyond that? So, nothing in concrete right now, but that's where our minds are pointed. And I'm sure with the great team we have, we're going to come up with some pretty slick ideas. So.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's a journey, right? So as good as your current employee experience is, there's always something new to learn, to do differently. And, I'm going to be asking for your advice momentarily. So things that other people could adapt for their organizations that you do. But before that, we are here to celebrate frontline employees and the benefits that they bring to the customer experience. So let's share a favorite employee story. Marty, why don't you kick us off with that?
I will, and hopefully I won't break down with this one because I actually listened to this call. We had a survivor reach out because their abusive partner had manipulated them into returning to the abusive relationship. Keep in mind that domestic violence isn't necessarily physical. There's financial abuse, there's digital abuse, emotional abuse. There are all kinds of things that happen in relationships that are classified as domestic violence. In this particular one, the survivor, let me back up for just a second and also state that people leaving a relationship tends to, a violent relationship, tend to have to leave 7 times before it finally sticks. So our job is not to help someone leave a relationship. Our job is to help them where they are get to where they want to be. We don't tell them what the next step is. We want to help them on that journey. So this particular one, the advocate helped them to create a safety plan. We have an online safety plan tool as well, but they helped them actually create this plan. So when a situation comes up, ways for them to be able to extricate themselves from the situation, to diffuse the situation, to not have it escalate is a critical thing. The advocate shared some additional resources for some support. And at the end of it, their quote was, "Thank you. Continue what you're doing because you don't realize you just saved my life." Can't get better than that.
No, that is so powerful. Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story. Kyle.
Note to self for future ones. Let Kyle go first. Marty's the closer with that one. No, it's so powerful and beautiful. Oh, yeah. What a privilege to participate in this kind of stuff, right, Marty?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a lot of them, but I'll use somebody who is a colleague of mine still today. She was a woman of color, single mother of 4 middle school and high school kids. Vision began getting blurry in 2016. 2017, she goes blind. She has to resign her job. She worked in a contact center. Had to resign, had to give up her license and her keys. She loved to take her girls shopping. for clothes and do all those things. And essentially her life went from this vibrant life to when her kids left for school, she'd go in her bedroom and lock her door and wait. And she was scared of all the sounds, thought her life was over. Luckily, she found our founding organization, the community-based nonprofit, where we teach you to live beyond the restrictions of visual loss and blindness. So, the person who greeted her was really cool and capable, and then she found out he was blind. And then, her technology instructor was teaching her. She was learning a lot. She finds out he's blind, and then finally they said that, My House Works is hiring contact center agents. And she gave it a shot. Her assistive technology skills, using that screen reader technology I told you about, weren't quite there. We have a promise to uphold to our customers, and so that's a real thing. So we made her a receptionist so she could practice without the pressure. All the while, though, too, I had spoken with her, and hey, where do you want to go in your career? And it was human resources. And so she worked at our front desk, earned her way into the contact center. Within a year, she was the lead. And then when we really expanded for the first time in our founding organization's 47 years old, for the first time ever, we were recruiting for a HR recruiter. And she competed for and won that position. She has a YouTube channel. She drove my car in a big empty parking lot with me. She and her dog Quincy. She is nowhere close to the top of her ladder. She's our National Industries for the Blind, one of our National Industries for the Blind public policy advocates, goes with us every spring to the Capitol, walks the halls, and tells the story of empowerment. And, it's just, at one point, all 4 of her kids worked with us too. Now, 2 of them still do, but it's just been, it's an environment where it's real tough to bitch and whine. I'm working with a lot of people who are problem solving every day. And, the spirit on Sophia, you can feel it if you stand near her. She's got this teeny little voice, but she's powerful. And so I'll just use that one. It's on the tip of my mind here.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So, we've talked about the challenges in terms of the complexity of the interactions that your teams handle, more challenging than most. And as I was saying earlier, the best practices that you use, other organizations and other industries can adapt those and take them on themselves and just make it work for their organization. So with that, what's one piece of advice you would share with our listeners today of something they can do right now to improve their employee experience? Kyle, why don't you take this one first?
Sure. Well, I think you can track nearly every path to success or backtrack any challenge, failure, conflict. It all goes back to communication, right? And so one of the things that we've embraced, and it has really, really delivered gold for us time and time again, is listening to our employees and asking deep questions that are open-ended. And how can we improve this experience? What's a tool you wish you had if you had a magic wand? And I'm saying listen, not hear. Actively listen and query the employees, the agents, or the frontline workers that we're celebrating today. A lot of times they will give you cold, and there's nothing like, these jobs, I don't care which call center you work in, it's not an easy job to do day in and day out. And when people feel like they're a part of the process and part of the solution, that they have a voice and their voice matters, I think magic happens. So I guess that could be a little bit of a mail it in answer, but that's the one I believe. So hope that's okay.
Oh, that works for me. Communication is essential, and that's their job too, right? So the more you can communicate with your frontline teams whose job it is to be a communicator, the better experience they're going to have and be able to deliver. Yeah. Thanks. Marty, how about you?
So this one is a little bit harder to actually implement, in my opinion, and that's really truly placing the well-being of the frontline team members is the number one priority. Right? It's very easy to say that we do it, but very few companies actually do it. I spent most of my contact center career was building call centers and running call centers around the world for Dell and for Apple. And I learned so much from them. One of those companies, I'm not going to name which one it is, when they first started out, when I first joined them, we had 47 different metrics we were measuring all of our advocates on. So when you're going to measure them on 47 things, you're not going to get excellence in any one of them. And some of them were purely cost driven. They weren't customer experience driven. So we narrowed it down to the top 6, the 6 things that had the most direct impact on the customer experience. And those were what people were being held accountable to. And it made the world a difference that the site that I ran, one of the sites I ran for that company became the top customer experience survey site for the organization. And it doesn't matter who they're serving, whether it's an internal organization serving, serving other employees, or they're serving customers or vendors. It doesn't matter. If you put that frontline team as your number one priority, you're going to get the best out of them. They may not leave if you don't, but if you demonstrate that you care about them as a person, that's where you're going to get the best from them.
Heck yeah. Marty, I'll add that, we've been communicating as a species for far longer than language. And so I hear that all the time, that it's so easy to say, people can feel your sincerity from a quarter mile. And so when you really do mean it, they will climb the wall with and for you. And they'll stay when it's hard. And they'll also say, we did it, not I did it, when things go really well. So thanks for that advice. I'm taking that to heart as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both so much for all of the inspiration today. I really appreciate you both being here with us. Unfortunately, Haley was not able to join us because of technical difficulties. Technology, sometimes it's great, sometimes it just doesn't want you to get things done. But everyone listening today, Harambe, Hotline, Lighthouse Works, all these stories are on the Genesis.com website. Please check them out, read more about all these organizations, the amazing work that they do, and how they're supporting their frontline teams. So thanks again to both of you for being here. And
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for listening. For more on today's topic, please scan the QR code that's going to pop up on the screen in a moment here, or click the link in the comments to download our checklist on workforce engagement management to help you manage that engagement part of the interactions in your employee experience. Also, of course, be sure to follow Genesis on LinkedIn so that you know when the next CX Green Room is going to be, because we want to have you here with us. And also to get, the latest stories and all the good stuff. While you're there, please also sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter. And of course, please like and share today's show so your colleagues can see the replay of it. Happy CX Day, everyone. And we'll see you next time in the CX Green Room.
Thank you.